welcome to today's tutorial. Before us here is a topic on mapping. We see continuing with mapping. We have composite mapping. We'll talk about composite mapping. Composite mapping is talking about a combination of two or more functions, all right, combined together. We look at it here. It's a combination of two or more functions in a what? Relation. Remember I told you that relation, when we talk about mapping, mapping is a relation between two quantities. Yes, it is a quantitative relation between two quantities. So now when we decide to combine the two together, we have what? Composite what? Mapping. Now we say, okay, for example, let's look at this now. If f is a mapping defined on x mapped to z, all right? Now, if f here is a function that is defined on this mapping, and g is a function that defined on z mapped into what? Y. So let them be the two mappings so that the codomain of f now, the codomain, remember I told you we have domain and codomain, alright? So the codomain is the domain of g as a function. Look at it here. Z or z here is a codomain of this function f, which is mapped into what? X to z. Now, if this codomain is not the domain of another function, so in composite mapping, the resulting mapping we are going to have in combining the two of them or more, we are going to have a G O F, or in most cases, you also see G F. When you see G O F or G F, they are actually talking about the same thing. So you can also say F O G, or you say F G. So when you look at these two functions, they are talking about what? Composite what? Functions. Now let's look at the diagrammatic representation of this information. Look at it here. What happens here is that this mapping f, this function f here, it takes an element in the what? Domain x and produces an image a, which is what? An element of what? The codomain. That is what happens here. Alright. The same way, this function g, this is a function g here, takes an element in the what? Domain, which is the codomain of what? X, and produces an image, which is what? X. Are you getting it now? So the same way, each element here, like q here, function f takes an element q and produces what? An image x. Okay, an image was c. This is c. An image c in its what? Codomain. So in the same way, this g as a function defined on z to what? Y takes that same element in its what? Domain. This happens to be the domain of this function now. Then it produces what? An image in the what? Codomain. So now, if I want to write the image of this f now, which means f, okay, let's go this way. So from the diagram above, for this arrow diagram, you are going to have your f function now, which means well, f of p now, fp produces, which is what? A. That is it. So the same way, g as a function here, as a function defined on this, between this one and this, also takes a, which means g of a, it gave our what? Gives what? X as the what? The image. Now remember, for us to have a composite function now, the two of them have to be combined. How do we then have it now? Look at the diagram here. So the resulting image that the both of them have, look at from P here, it is the X that is the final image. So which means my G O F now is equal to what? X. That is what this composite function is talking about. So if you look at the second element now, look at the second element. So which means my f of q now, f of q produces an image which is what? C. in its codomain, which is what C. In the same vein, G also takes C and produces, which means G of C now produces Y as the what? The image. Okay. So now, if I want to write this now in a composite form, I'm going to have G O F will now give me equal to what? Y. This is what? The image of the composite or function. So you do that for every one of them. Look at that of R. So my F, which is the image, R, the F as a function takes an element R and produces an element D, which will now give me equal to what? D. In the same way, the mapping function G takes D as an element from the domain Z, then which means G of R, okay, G of D rather. Sorry, G of D gives us X. Okay. Now, what happened now? How do I get G or GOF? So we're going to have your GOF is equal to X. Still X. This is how it is done. So in our next video, I'm going to bring that question that we can solve based on this composite or function. It's very easy. Just takes absolute concentration and understanding the underlying concepts of this composite or function. Thank you so much. This is how far we can go for now.